The Utah Jazz have done it again. And to quote the great Craig Bolerjack, that's some amazing beep. We're talking about it next on POSTCAST. I've been locked along with Ron Boone, and we just finished the broadcast, and I hope he doesn't mind. But Craig Bolerjack just summed up the night by taking his headset off. Finally, after the fans had left, he turns to us and goes, that is just some amazing beep. And guess what? He's right. How? No Markkanen, no Sexton, no Clarkson against a team that won 11 of 13 since the break, 7 straight on the road. How?
And I meant to ask you this during the course of the ball game, David, but that first half was unbelievable. Have the Kings been scored? I mean, the Jazz scored 68 points on them in the first half.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain the Kings have allowed 68 points a lot of times.
Because they give up a lot of points, don't they?
Yeah, like, as great as I just made the Kings sound, let's be perfectly honest. I'll bet they've given up 68 points a whole big bunch of times this year.
The bottom line for that is that they also scored 60.
Yes.
Yeah.
How are they doing? I mean, really, you don't have Lauri, you don't have Jordan, you don't have Collin. You start off hot. You play brilliantly early. You hit a bunch of threes. You score 40 points in the first quarter. You go 5 of 10 from 3, 15 of 25. You got 20 assists at halftime. You're up by 16, and we opened the broadcast in the second half and said, okay, the first 5 minutes are going to matter, and by the end of 5 minutes, it was a 6-point game. By the time we hit the fourth quarter, it was tied. Sacramento is 24 and 15 in the clutch. They're the number 1 offense in the NBA. They're the number 1 offense in the clutch. So you just know how this is going to end. This is going to end that Sacramento kind of wears the Jazz down, makes a bunch of plays. They have 2 guys that are going to be all-NBA this year, and they outduel a Jazz team that finished with 3 rookies, a guy that was signed on a 10-day contract, and Kelly Olynyk. That's who the Jazz closed with tonight, and they close on a 15-5 run. How is that possible?
You would think it would be possible, but that run that the Jazz had in that first half was just unbelievable. The Kings were not ready for it. Jazz were making shots. They put the Kings in a hole to where they had to fight back, and now they're playing uphill. They did a great job getting back, and I think they took the lead maybe twice. Their biggest lead was only 3.
We had 9 lead changes, I think, all in the fourth quarter tonight.
Yeah, 9 or 9. 8 or 9. But I think that the fact that the Jazz were able to survive, David. I mean, I'm sure Kelly Olynyk and Agbaji is going to be the stars of the game. That's for sure. But that bench came in and got 50 points off the bench here tonight.
There are a lot of guys that can go in there tonight.
I don't know.
I mean, Walker Kessler took Domantas Sabonis, who is going to be an All-NBA player and is probably one of the 6, probably going to be, should be like 6th or 7th in MVP voting, and completely took him out of the game with his length tonight.
He played a great ball game, David. He had 8 rebounds. He
5
had 5 block shots. He stymied.
And Domantas Sabonis shot what?
Sabonis ended up with 11 points. He had 12 rebounds, 9 assists.
He's great.
But
what'd he shoot?
He was 4 for 11.
He went 11 of 11 against us earlier this year. All right, back to the game.
But
I agree. I'm going to agree with you at the end. Don't worry about it.
So that bench at the Jazz, they would have get something out of Udoka tonight. They were able to get something out of Anderson. Is that Anderson with Udoka?
Toscana Anderson.
Yeah, 18 for Dunn. Just 50 points coming off that bench, and those are not rotation players in the league.
Andy Williams points out we had 8 guys. Andy Williams on our chat room just points out we had 8 guys in double figures tonight.
Yeah, unbelievable. But the fact that they got off such a great start in that first quarter and got the Kings playing uphill, having to make some adjustments for their game in order to beat the Jazz was something that usually happens. Teams having to make adjustments, to beat them.
We'll have to see what the numbers are when they come out, but the first half story is the zone. Yes. The Jazz come back with this. They switch between a 2-3 and a 1-3-1 zone tonight. They were switching kind of alternating between the two at times, predominantly in their 1-3-1 zone. What did the zone do to Sacramento?
Well, it forced them to shoot. Well, they wasn't making shots here at first. I mean, that third quarter, they started getting that corner 3. Barnes ended up having one heck of a third quarter. Barnes had the second quarter.
Murray had the
third quarter. That was shooting the 3-point shot. So they made some adjustments to the point where Jazz trying to keep Kessler close to the basket as much as possible. And then when they start breaking the paint, they start getting threes, and they also start getting to the free throw line. So expect to see a little bit more of that next week when we play them.
We opened up the broadcast talking about Sacramento's dribble handoff game, the best in the game. They run 38 dribble handoffs a game. The next closest in the league was 28. The Jazz are league average at 20. I don't think they had more than 12 or 14 dribble handoffs tonight.
Yeah.
They literally, the Jazz zone defense took them completely out of their dribble handoff game.
Yeah, it took them out of the strength of their offense for the most part. And basically that's what you want to do. You just make the coaches make adjustments, and if you have the personnel to do it, try to put the guys in the right spots out there on the floor, which they did, and they started knocking down some threes there in the corner, but they all started putting players in the slot to the point where they could drive and penetrate the Jazz defense.
Talen Horton-Tucker, this is kind of where this night's truly remarkable. Talen Horton-Tucker begins to have a tough night. And so Chris Dunn and Point Kelly take over kind of that role on this roster, and it's just another example of guys stepping up. And in the case of Kelly Olynyk, and I don't want to forget Chris Dunn here, but the case of Kelly Olynyk, he was really interesting in our post-game interview. Like, he really evolves every game into something. He's just such a brilliant player. And he even said, hey, sometimes you got to evolve inside of a quarter. Sometimes you have to evolve inside of a half. But he's changing. He looks at every night clearly as, what does this team need from me? Because he's been a different player since we traded Mike Conley, and he was a different player tonight without Markkanen and Clarkson and Sexton.
He's been around a long time. So obviously he knows and recognizes, that he has to pick his game up and doing some things that he doesn't normally do. Play off the dribble for the most part, but rebounding is always going to be a key for him, and I think distributing the basketball is always going to be a key for him there as well. And he did that tonight tremendously with 10 rebounds and 8 assists.
I do want to give a shout out to Chris Dunn. What are you seeing from him and how he controlled this game? Because he closed it tonight.
You know how I feel about him. I thought that when he joined this team that he was going to not just have 2 stints of a 10-day contract. I thought he was going to end up being signed for the rest of the year. I think he's a good rotation player. I like his defense. I know I really love his mid-range games where he gets into the paint and he has a little push shot there in the middle. I think that's the strength of his offense for the most part, but he knocked down a couple of threes. But his length and his defense, I think, is what I like there as well.
One of the bigger plays of the night, I can never remember. I think you guys are all used to this by now. I can never remember play-by-play until I go back. I always go back and watch Craig and Thurl and Holly after the game, so I have some idea of what happened. But one of the biggest plays of the night is what I called a zip code 3 for Chris Dunn, and that's when he's the only guy in the zip code and he gets a 3, and that's intentional. That's because Chris Dunn in his career has made 29% of his threes, and Sacramento went with that scouting report, and Chris Dunn knocked it down, and that was a monster shot in this ballgame.
Yeah, he knocked down 2 3-point shots, and believe me, those are 3-point shots that feet together, looking straight down the barrel, plenty of time to get his thoughts together, then shoots the basketball. He's not one of those guys going to catch it off the dribble. Shoot off the dribble. He's not going to be one that's going to shoot off the catch, the 3-point shot. But you let his feet get his feet together, he can knock down the shot.
All right, we got to talk about Ochai a little bit, but I want to wrap up some numbers here. Sacramento came in with the best half-court offense in the NBA at about 1 point. I can find the exact number, but I believe it was 1.18 points per possession, which was the second best half-court offense in the history of the NBA. Tonight they end up with a 105.9. So still good, 74th percentile, but way off where they've been. They came in with the number 1 offense in the NBA, coming in at a 119.7, and they were a 115.4 tonight. So the Jazz did a great job there. Sacramento got an incredible 19 corner threes off tonight against the zone, making 8 of them. They took 52 of their 97 shots as threes tonight. Remember when the Jazz didn't allow threes?
Yeah.
Well, that's an evolution there from Will Hardy as the Jazz did that. From a Jazz standpoint, part of their success tonight was they got to the rim for 22 shots and made 17 of them as well. We touched on it for a minute. Just what Walker did to Sabonis tonight. What happened there? Because Sabonis was not his usual self.
His length and the fact that I think Walker Kessler may have went for 1 pump fake that got him in trouble, and he picked up a couple of early fouls there trying to defend him. But after that, he just used his length and really bothered Sabonis to where he could not score over the top of him. Sabonis is not a leaper. He uses his body and then to the point gets close enough to where he can shoot over his right shoulder. and Kessler just for the most part just took that away. Once you block 1 or 2 shots, or you bother 1 or 2 shots, now you're in the head of the shooter, of the offensive player, and you start changing your game a little bit, and Sabonis got frustrated.
All right, Ochai Agbaji, the positive of Jordan Clarkson being out has been that Ochai Agbaji has become your shooting guard. He has now taken double-digit shots, I think, in 7 straight games. 14 of them tonight. They scored 20. He scores 27, a new career high. He hits a monster big shot late in the game. He hits 2 big free throws. He's clearly unfazed from his Kansas days there. I mean, there's no Kansas State club that they're still in the tournament. Sorry, that I had to, Craig Bolajak actually made me do that. But they did win a national title last year, and he was the player of the Final Four. What are you seeing out of Ochai?
Well, what I'm seeing is what we'll ask him to do. Play just like the offensive player, the national player of the year. And don't just start settling. I mean, just go out there and play your game. And he's added so much to his game now. Shooting off the dribble, not shy about when or where he shoots the basketball. And like I said earlier, I like the fact that, some of his rebounds, let's see, he ended up with 5 rebounds, but he catches, he just has a way of going and finding the basketball off the rim, kind of like that.
Jazz getting Ochai Agbaji in the Donovan Mitchell trade. He drops 27. Walker Kessler has 10 points, 8 rebounds, 5 blocks, and stymies Domantas Sabonis. The storylines of this season continue to blow us away. And Ron Boone, the 2 stars tonight are?
Mine are Agbaji and Kelly Olynyk.
Kelly Olynyk, 19 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists. Agbaji with 27 points and a plus 18. 6 of 10 from 3. Pretty hard to quibble with that. Chris Dunn, we love you. Walker Kessler, we love you. Those were impressive performances. Frankly, Rudy Gay has been really important recently for the Utah Jazz after what was a first half of the season that was kind of relentlessly mocked by people. He's been pretty good recently. That wraps us up. Locked on Jazz will come your way tomorrow from some undisclosed location, which might be a ski resort parking lot. And just once again, to quote the great philosopher who usually gives us buckle up, that's some amazing. Have a great night.
Beep.